Are you a wife, a mother struggling to balance your professional life and your family life? Do you often feel guilty when you're having to work late because of either just missing time with your family or not being able to make that game or that awards program or having to leave immediately after because of work requirements? Or are you just tired? And I mean tired of having to do all the things for all the people and with little appreciation. And honestly, even if you do get the appreciation, it doesn't give you your energy back. You're thankful for it and thankful that they are thankful for you, but it doesn't give you your energy back. It doesn't give you your time back. And so, if you are any of those people or all of those people, this message is for you. And not only is it for you, but it is for you from you because I am or I was you. I was the mother working Lord knows how many hours per week, but also I have a husband, I have three children, and a dog. He doesn't require much, but still, he's there. But all of these things, and all of these things that require our time and require our attention, and I actually like my family, not just love and have an obligation, but like, meaning I like spending time with them. I like doing things with them, going places, seeing them at their games and all of these different things. And so I enjoy spending time with them. And so, yes, I was that mother that felt guilty when I went to the program, but I was probably sitting there checking emails or responding to messages or rushing when the program ended to leave right after or practice ended so that we could get home because I need to get back online. Or let me just grab something real quick and pick it up for dinner because I don't have time to cook because I got to do this for work. And so I was that person. And honestly, it took my relationship and building and growing in my relationship with God to help me understand how to un- uncover some of those bad habits that I had that allowed me to get into that place. Because just because I'm not in the corporate space anymore, it didn't mean that my personal requirements went away. And anyone who is an entrepreneur knows that it also requires a lot of your time and a lot of your attention. And so it's not like, oh, I just have all of this free time now to do all of the things. No, I had to become disciplined and I had to learn how to prioritize my time then, and even more so as far as the discipline is concerned now. And so I want to give a few tools that will hopefully help as you navigate the challenges and benefits of being a wife and or mother. And so here's the first one that we all know, one we've heard forever, one that works for some, not for others, and this is meal prep. This is something that I have struggled with and still struggle with, but it is a very, very, very helpful tool. And the reason that I struggle with it was not because of meal prepping. Like I could sit down on Sunday and say, you know what, we can have these particular things. We have such and such going on this day. We'll probably get home late. So this can be a day that we will pick up something. But on this day, we'll have this. On this day, we'll have that. And then if it was something like spaghetti and we're going to have ground beef, okay, well, then let me get a large enough pack of ground beef so we can have some for the spaghetti on this day, and then maybe have something, maybe have burgers with it another day, or burgers and then spaghetti later in the week, because spaghetti is one that tends to last a couple of days sometimes, one of those larger meals. But you get what I'm saying. And so meal prep was always very helpful, and it's something that I've started and stopped and started and stopped so many times over the years. But for me, it wasn't about the discipline of doing the meal prep. For me, it was making sure I stuck with those items that I decided to prepare. And so, what I mean by that is, we would have maybe the ground beef and we would get the burger or whatever on, let's say we have burgers on Tuesday with the plan of having spaghetti on Thursday. And then on Thursday, it's like, I don't want spaghetti. I think I want something else. And so now, not now not only are we spending more money because we've already spent the money here to purchase this, so now we're not only spending money, and we're probably eating out if we go with a different route, a different option, and then so we're also probably making an unhealthy decision. And so having the discipline to stick with the meal prepping is just as important as the meal prepping itself. But that is a really, really, really big one, meal prepping. And I still have it. And then sometimes, even if your family is anything like mine, oh, we're going to have this day. Oh, well, can we have this? Or what about this instead? And that's from the youngest to the oldest, meaning my husband. So, allowing those changes. And sometimes it's okay. You know what? We can pivot from the plan. We can have this at a later date. I hadn't planned anything for Saturday. We'll use the ground beef and have it with quesadillas on Saturday. So you can always pivot, but just make sure that you're not doing so much pivot that you're undoing the meal prepping that you've prepared, because now that can have you feeling unappreciated. It can have you feeling like, hey, I spent all this time and energy and work, and I don't want to keep doing this if, it's not going to be followed through. So that's the biggest thing. If you're going to go with the option of meal prepping, then make sure that you are going to be disciplined enough to stick with those ideas for meal prepping. So that one is a really big one as far as saving time, because if you already have that plan in place, you're able to set the time to prepare that meal. And for me, it was all about things that we could do quickly. And I would say 30, 45 minutes. If we're looking at 45, and if we're looking at 45 or higher, it's probably something that's going in the oven where I can just prep it and then put it in the oven. So think about those things to try to, as a way of saving your time. And then even with going with that, I am a list person. And some people, everybody isn't a list person, but for me, having a list of the things that I need to do help. But not only that, I put I put everything in my calendar. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Right now, if you were to go to my calendar, you would see an hour blocked out each day for meal prep for dinner. And why? Because so I can make sure that time is there. So I can make sure no one schedules a meeting, so that I can make sure that I'm really truly prioritizing this thing that I've established that's important. And in prioritizing and making time to do something like meal prep and cook dinner, I'm showing that I value my time. And when I show that I value my time, others will then value my time. Because if I don't show any type of discipline or value for my time, nobody else is going to either. If I'm all over the place, then other people will continue to give me things and throw things at me at the last minute and say, oh, she'll figure it out. She's always all over the place. But if I'm disciplined in my schedule, if I set times for things and then stick with it, because that's another part, stick with those times that I have established, then other people have no choice but to also fall in line. And not saying that it will happen overnight, but as you establish that habit and become more disciplined about making sure that you make time for the things that are important to you and that you really need to get done, then yes, other people will start, and you'll get, you know what, I know this is normally your blah, blah, blah time. People will start first, not even acknowledging it. And then when they see you sticking to it, they may come and say, well, I know this is normally your X, whatever that time is, because you don't have to tell people this is my dinner time. Just have that time blocked out. That's your business, not everybody else's. And so, if someone I know you have a meeting, or I know you have this time showing you're unavailable, but can you help with? They're going to try that. And then that's when you have to step in and place those boundaries for yourself and advocate for yourself to say, no, I'm not available. I can help you later or tomorrow or whenever the case may be, but I'm not available during this time. And so then it'll get to the point where when people see that your time is blocked, oh, they're not available. I see their calendar is blocked. And that's as it relates to people in your professional life. And personal, you definitely will still have some bleeding of those boundaries, but that is time that you can kind of multitask and do other things. Especially if you're prepping something for dinner, that may be the time that you can have your child sitting there doing their work, especially if it's something they need help with. Well, here, while I'm doing this, how about you come down to the kitchen and sit with me, sit at the table to do your work. So if you have questions, I'm there and I can answer those. So that way it's not, I need to spend an hour on dinner, and then we need to spend an hour on homework, and then we need to spend more. try to combine things whenever possible. If you have a call that you need to make and you don't like calling because you know that they're going to keep you on hold, well, do it while you're in the car sitting in traffic, because then you're going to be sitting anyway. So just make the best use of that time. So meal prepping and having a calendar is all really about how can I make the best use of my time? I know that I am being pulled in 15 different ways. So what are things that I can do to help establish my priority, and make myself a priority, and also make sure that I am managing my time well, because it all comes with managing your time well. Again, if you know if you are going to that recital, that performance, that game. So, for example, my boys play football, and I know that they have to be at the game. Well, I'll even say for my youngest specifically, he plays rec ball, and so they normally have to be at the game an hour and a half to 2 hours before the game starts, so they can do a walkthrough and all this other stuff. Okay, well, during that time, I can either drop him off and we can go do other things, or if we decide to stay and sit at the park to wait for the game to start, I can check emails, I can make phone calls, I can look over my budget. Like, there are so many things. I can read, I can do so many different things during that time. So again, it's about managing your time. Managing your time, establishing the priority, and then being disciplined enough to say, this is my time, this is what I've established, and stick with it. Stick with it. Yes, things will come up, emergencies will happen, life will continue to life, and there will be days where your so-called perfect plan is thrown completely out of tact. But you have tomorrow. You have tomorrow to figure it out. You have tomorrow to try it again. So don't give up when things come up, because they're going to come up. Emergencies happen, things happen all the time, and not just with our kids and family, but with ourselves, where we have to pivot. I had planned to do studying this evening, but I am just tired and I need to rest. So I'm going to listen to my body and have that rest. So things will come up, but at least if you have a plan in place, it makes it a lot easier when you have to pivot from that plan to say, oh, okay, this was a thing I wasn't able to do, but it wasn't really a major priority. And one thing I'll even say, and I really wasn't planning to get into this whole calendar thing, but another thing that I guess trick that I learned with my calendar that I really love is I color code things. If it's personal, if it's business related, if it's something that creates income for me, I have all of these different, if it's something, my time to increase my own knowledge, because we're always learning and growing. I have things that color coding in my calendar, so I know how I'm spending my time. So if I were to look at my calendar for a month, what color would I see the most of? Would it be personal things, which are running errands, appointments, and all things for my family? Would it be knowledge increase, where I'm reading books, going to webinars, taking courses, different things to help me increase and advance my knowledge? So what is it? Is it making money, revenue related activities? What are those things that are consuming your time? And so because I color code, it helps me to not only manage my calendar, but say, oh, okay, this was something that I can move here based on, what I see on my calendar. If I need to get a quick glance, oh, okay, Thursday is my knowledge day. And that's the bulk of it. I can move that to this time so that we can make time for something else. So color coding, that's just an extra tidbit that was added there for that. But that's a really good one. But if you're in talking about time management and understanding priority, the main thing is understanding the order of priority and how that works. And so everybody may not agree. This is the one that I try to adhere to. This is the one that I feel, if God were sitting right next to me today and I said, Lord, this is my priority, I feel like he would be pleased with this list. I'll say it like that. So anyway, here is my priority list. First and foremost and always is God. He comes first in everything. And when we realize that he is first in everything, we will understand, and he will allow us and show us. He will help us with our time management. He will help us with our discipline. He will help us with all the things to make sure we stick to those things that we are supposed to do. And the more time we spend with him, the more sensitive we become to his voice. And his voice can be however you hear it, whether it's a word through another person, whether it's a thought, whether it's some people who who audibly hear the Lord speaking with them. Whatever it is, the more time we spend with God, the more easy it is and the quicker for us to realize when he's speaking to us through various means, something we may see while we're driving down the road, anything. So first and foremost and always is God. Secondly is my husband, not my family, not my kids. It's my husband. My husband has the higher priority. It's he and I. We are the two who became one. And then it's the kids. And a lot of times as mothers, we throw that off when we say, my kids need me and they need. Do they really? If your husband's trying to spend some quality time with you because you've been working all week and all over the place and doing all the things for everyone else, and he may have been too, because like I said, we have 3 kids, so we're outnumbered. So my husband also has to do, running around and stuff. But there are certain things that I just prefer to do. Like if it's a doctor's appointments and things like that, I prefer just to be there, to be the one there. If he comes too, that's fine. But like there are certain things that he can do or I can do, and there are some that I just prefer to do, and like that's one of them. So anyway, if it's been a week and he wants to sit down and watch a film, and the kids, let's go play games together because same reason, we've been running around all week, haven't had time. Okay, well, how about you all go play together? Or if it's an only child, maybe you can watch this movie, and maybe you can even be near where we are, but still acknowledging him and giving him that preference and spending that time with him. And that's something that initially I definitely struggle with. And then there are still certain pockets here and there. I am not perfect by no means. So there's still pockets here and there where I have to be reminded of that. But he has priority. And then it's the rest of the family. And then it's adhering to, whatever they need. Because just because he's an adult does not mean that he does not have needs and he should not have preference. Just because he's able to do for himself does not mean that I should be like, well, figure it out yourself because let me tend to the kids. Well, at what point do the kids understand and learn how to figure it out for themselves if you're always there doing everything for them? So, God, my husband, my family, meaning my immediate family, my household, and then business. I say business / ministry because for some your business is your ministry, and others that may be separate, but that would be next. So yes, your family comes above that other thing that's outside of your home, your ministry, your business. Now, hear clearly, God is first. Ministry and God are 2 completely different things. God is the time you spend with him, your one-on-one time, listening to his voice, reading his word, learning more about him. Ministry is the work that you do. And while you may be doing work that God called you to do, he is not going to tell you to neglect your family in order to get that done. So understand that your family still and what does that look like? So I'm not a preacher, not even close, but you hear how you may see where a preacher says, me and my family went on vacation. We took some time off. I blocked out my calendar and took my family on vacation because I've been ministering around the country and doing all of these things and haven't had time with my family. So that's an idea. And while that's a grand idea, because, again, I use, a preacher or a minister as my example, but that's even if you have a particular, a club or something, not club, but a committee that you're a part of at the church, and understanding that you don't neglect home in order to take care of something outside of your home. And so that's what I mean by family and then ministry and or your business, and however that folds. If the 2 are one, great. But they come under that. And then lastly is self. Now, that may sound counterintuitive because I've talked about, managing your time and time for yourself and not being stressed out and pulled all over the place. So this list of priority doesn't mean let me do all of these things for all of these different people and then I figure out what I can do for me. No. This list of priority means if there's a competing priority, if there's a request for 2 things, now I have my order of priority to say, okay, I should focus more on this one. I should focus more example, if your job is saying, hey, we're going to have to come in on Sunday. We need to get this done. We need to meet this deadline. yada yada yada. And you know, Sundays are the one day that you get to have your time with God. Sundays are the one day where you get to have your Sabbath rest. Sundays are the one day where you get to go to and worship. So that's your time to set that boundary in place and say, no, I can't do it, because in your list of priorities, God is above anything else. And so that time with God has to take precedent. It has to take priority. And then it's definitely for them to make sure that they have to respect that and respect that time. Now, if it's one of those things where you're like, no, something happened, it's the state of our business, whatever, you feel like you really, really just have to get this thing done, then you can still have boundaries and limit your time. You can say, you know what, I can't give you from 8 to 3 on my Sunday, but I can give you from noon to 3, or I can give you from 4 to 6. Give you some time, not all of my time. Because again, we're still managing our time, but we're still also holding reverence to God and understanding that as long as you continue to put him first, he will allow you to figure everything else out. And where you think it could be an issue and people may not like what you have to say, understand that God will protect you no matter what. And when you get to that understanding, you're able to step up and walk boldly and more into who you are and who God called you to be. And so again, the list of priority: God, husband, family, business/ministry, and then self. And so self doesn't mean, again, that everything has to be done before you can tend to you. You are on that list because you are a priority, but these are things that we are in service to. And so having a family, we are in service to our family. And so again, what is that? Another example of what does that look like? Let's say I was always the one doing laundry in my household, and I was tired. It's the end of the day now. I'm having to separate the clothes, wash the clothes, dry the clothes, fold them back up. I did everything except wear them. And so it's like, wait a minute, I have a full household here. Let me start to pull them in to help with some of these tasks. Let me pull them in. Hey, these are your clothes, or if you separate them, I'll wash them. Or however the tag team is. For me, it was, let me show you how to use the washing machine so you can do it yourself. And then when my kids first started washing their own clothes, I would tell them what they needed to do and show them how to separate. And then when they started doing it themselves, I would just say, okay, before you put it in the machine, let me see what all you've put together just to make sure. And then I'll say, okay, and what are you going to put the load on? Or I'll tell put it on this type load, this, cold water, hot water, whatever the case was, and teaching them how to do it themselves. And so then I stopped getting the late night reminders of, oh, I need my uniform for tomorrow and it's already 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and I'm tired. Now it's, oh, I'm washing I can wash my own clothes. And so then the request, because then we're still managing time, the request went from, can you wash my clothes, to, I just put a load in, can you put it in the dryer for me when it finishes? So I had to work through that one as well, because while I'm like, great, now they're washing their own clothes, but it's 11 o'clock and they just decided they were going to go to bed. I want to go to bed too. Or even if it's 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever the time is, I have to now wait an hour, maybe longer, for their clothes to finish, to put them in the dryer while, they get to go to bed and go to sleep. So I had an adjustment for that. So my washing machine has something called a delayed time. Not something that I asked for, but one of the best features that it could have. It has a delayed time. I can delay a wash from starting up to 12 hours. So I got to where I would tell them, hey, go ahead, put it in the machine. You put it in the machine. You put in your detergent and all of those things, and you delay the start for, like I said, anywhere from 1 hour up to 12 hours. And I would tell them, if it's 10 o'clock, delay the start for 6 hours. So that means that the washing machine would start going at 4 a.m. So it starts going at 4 a.m. The clothes are done. I typically get up at 5, and I'll say, delay the start for 6 hours, and I'll put the stuff in the dryer when I get up in the morning. So now it prompts me to get up, because I would get up at 5, or I do still, but I get up at 5 a.m. to have my time with God, because I know that's when everyone else is asleep and I won't have distractions. So now, not only am I still having my time with the Lord, but I'm also being in service of service however you say it, to my family and making sure that they get what they need. And it's also making sure that I still get up because I may, I don't want, now I know I have to do this with the clothes and I can set myself a reminder or whatever. But typically, by the time I get up, I'll hear the machine going, and that's my reminder. Oh, let me go down. The clothes should be about done. And so I can put them in the dryer. So when they get up, they can have what they need. All is well in the world. So again, it's about managing your time and making sure that you're making you a priority. Because in that example, it was an example of doing something for the kids versus myself. But I wasn't going to sacrifice my rest, my mental health, my well-being to stay up for this load of clothes. And so we came up with an alternate solution for it. So again, establishing the priorities and just making sure that you make time for you and use your time well. So I hope this has been helpful. My name is Sharika Sanders. I work with Christian professional women and helping them to understand how to live out their promise, live in their purpose, understand how to balance all that crazy that goes on in the professional world while still showing up for themselves in their personal lives, for themselves, for their families, for their significant others. And so connect with me. My information is in the bio if you want to learn more, or just subscribe as I provide additional content on navigating this thing we call life. Until next time, thank you for your time. Bye.